You're listening to the Coach Hodge and Banks Show on the Coaching Culture in Athletics Radio Broadcast Network. Sit back and enjoy the show. The views and opinions discussed in this podcast aren't necessarily the opinion of the host or Coach Hodge and Banks Show on the Coaching and Culture Athletics Network.
Hey everybody, I want to welcome you to another rendition of Coaching Culture in Athletics. I'm your host, Coach Banks, Chuck Banks. I don't have my email notifications shut off, so that stuff certainly happens. We are live, and I am currently blessed today to have another in-studio guest, Coach Tyler Bryant. And, Coach Bryant, not only have I coached with you, officiated with you, but I've also had the opportunity to coach with you. So that makes it really exciting. And you know what? I read a Facebook message that you messaged today, and I shared it on the Coaching Culture and Athletics Facebook website. And I thought it hit a nerve. And I reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast?" Right away, man. So you're gonna have to speak really loud.
Yep.
But share with everybody a little bit about your background in coaching, officiating, playing, and what really struck the nerve today. I'm sure that there wasn't enough athletes out there, and if you're listening, I know a lot of these athletes listen. Get your butt out of bed and get there.
Yeah, so I'm a graduate from Central Lee High School from 2015. I played football, basketball, baseball, and track all 4 years, all varsity. I had some conference awards and things like that, but that's not important. So
it's all important.
That's true, I guess. I got the opportunity to play football at Central College for 4 years. I graduated this year, May 2019. And I also had the opportunity to play basketball, but with collegiate football, that's a lot of time commitment with lifting in the off season and just learning the playbook. So I decided just to stick with football. And even though basketball is my favorite sport, unfortunately. So that was a tough decision. But graduated college. But I've been coaching baseball for 2 years now. Coached middle school baseball with you this year. And coached middle school baseball with Coach Sandoval last year. And tons of fun. The kids enjoy it. And we really set the culture of having fun, getting better, and developing these kids in order to prepare them for the high school level, which is the main goal for middle school baseball and all sports at that level. Now,
take us back, Tyler, when you realized, playing growing up, because, you had the opportunity, distinct opportunity, much like my daughter did, where your father coached you, and at times I'm sure that was rough. Okay, I'm just going to throw that out there. Okay. Bob, I know that you'll listen, and sometimes it is tough, but he didn't put the extra pressure on you that a lot of parent coaches do, correct?
No, not at all. So he was a blessing and a curse at some times, but a blessing most of all. He coached me from YMCA all the way up to varsity sports. And if he wasn't the head coach, he was assistant coach. So he was extremely helpful. And I give all the credit to him and God for giving me my athletic abilities and a good blueprint of coaching and what to do and what not to do. And yeah, he's been very helpful, and he's always been there, and he always will be.
Yeah. Now, when was it that you had that burning desire to be a coach and a teacher?
So coaching, I was probably in YMCA basketball and decided I wanted to be a coach then. Except I probably wanted to be a professional coach at that point, but we'll take baby steps here. But teaching-wise, I wanted to be a teacher ever since 7th grade social studies. I got to mummify a chicken, and so we created the caskets and everything. We did the whole process with that. So that was fun, and I decided, hey, I want to impact kids. I want to keep teaching history, and I love history, and I want to spread that to the younger generation.
Now, who was your teacher, man? You got to give a shout out there.
That was Miss McCoy. She's still there, and so I get the pleasure of working with her and Miss Parker, who both I had as teachers in middle school. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun, right?
It is.
Anytime you look at that. Now, take me back to one negative, component that you dealt with as a player athlete. Or what do you call that? A student athlete. Okay, a student athlete. Take me back and give me a negative coaching situation that you learned from and a positive coaching situation that you learned from.
So when I was in high school, I had some really fantastic coaches and some who weren't as fantastic. I'm not saying that they were terrible coaches, but they did have their flaws, which everyone does. And I had one coach who almost made me quit my favorite sport just because he kind of pushed me a little too hard. I was a sophomore and I was starting varsity, and he really wanted me to get that extra edge, which I shouldn't be upset about, but he did it in a way that my coaching preference style really isn't leaning towards. So you talk about, if you go into collegiate levels, you talk about how kids are coached. There's certain coaching preferences and styles that work better with some kids, work better with others, and he wasn't doing my coaching preference, so that really irked me for some reason, and that made me push myself even farther, but it also made me dislike the sport that I loved the most, which was tough at times, but I pushed through. I wasn't going to quit, because if you quit now, then you always quit. Everyone says that, but it's true. You got to fight through adversity. And so I'm thankful for him with that, and it's all part of the journey.
Sure. Now, I'm going to guess, vocal, screaming, loud, does that bother you?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
I don't think that it ever bothered you with me because I'm just loud in general, but, sometimes it affects my wife, my spouse situation, because she thinks I'm yelling and I'm not. So I'll throw that out there anyway. What about a positive experience, especially in the culture of sports, especially doing multiple sports?
So, I did all 4 sports, and sometimes those overlap each other, especially during the summer. So, me being a high school kid, I didn't have a job. I'm blessed dad with that decision because you have your whole life to find a job, to work, and just to labor away. But these 4 years of high school or college, you really got to enjoy those sports moments, those moments with friends outside of sports and classes. And so I got that opportunity, and that positively encouraged me because when I'm going to be a father, hopefully, I'm going to tell my son not to have a job, or son or daughter, not to have a job during high school. They got to enjoy those years, and then they can work later. But that was one positive, but also just the relationship with my former teammates or from high school or college. I mean, I got lifelong friends from either one, and I still keep contact with them and enjoy those. And then, of course, the coaches. I mean, without coaches, you wouldn't be where you are as a player, and I give them all the credit to where I am at, especially you, the other football coaches, Coach Hoffman, Dad, Coach Merck. Those guys, you guys launched me into my football career in college, and then all my basketball coaches, Dave Hall, Frank Gaines, you assisted, Dad assisted, and Matt Holzbus. I mean, they all pushed me to get that opportunity of playing collegiate basketball, although I didn't take it. But it's just those relationships with other people is just the best athletics can do for you.
Sure. Now, take us to the biggest frustration as a young coach coming into this, this world that we call coaching. Take us to that biggest frustration, and how are you going to be able to evolve your coaching culture into a manner that you can get past those frustrations? This is interesting.
It is. So the biggest frustration as a young coach would be you not knowing as much as everyone else. You know a lot, but I'm always one of those guys that wants to get better at everything that he does all the time, so I'm not reached to my peak yet, and then even when I do, I'm going to bust that peak and keep going higher. But just that knowledge level, that inexperience, it doesn't really show, but it also makes you think a little bit more, and then you're hoping you don't get in a situation where you're like, crap, what do I need to do? But that would probably be the biggest frustration.
Today's going to be about it's going to be a mixed bag of frustration and discussing these things because they need to be they need to be hashed out.
Yeah.
But so knowledge, the search and quest, for information to find your foundation, within an organization is important. Okay, and again, it's always frustrating, when you start a job and you do those sorts of things. Now, let's get into the nuts and bolts of the coaching component because I have a lot of frustrations on that, and we'll look at that, from a player, a parent, and an official perspective, and I think it's important to denote those things and separate them.
Absolutely.
But as a coach, you're in the middle of a ball game. Things aren't going quite the way that you want them to go. And as a young coach, my philosophy changed. Now I'm an old coach, right, or at least middle of the road. I know Mad Dog Maddie would probably laugh, me calling myself an old coach. And so Jim Nod, and I'm sure Bill Meserol's listening. I got to give Bill a shout out. I need to get him on this podcast as well. Probably not in studio, but Bill, thanks for the liking of the page, and I appreciate everything you have to offer. But again, so coaching is your biggest frustration that the student athletes are not performing up to their ability, their off-season workouts, or is it the parent, the community, or administration? This is now. I'm opening up a can of worms here, and you don't have to say anything you don't want to say. And by the way, I'm sure Herdrick and everybody involved is probably going to listen to this at one point or another. And ultimately, our goal is to develop a culture in sports that's much better than it is today.
Yes, absolutely. So the biggest frustration, it wouldn't be anybody in particular. It wouldn't be parents, coaches. I would say it's just the system that these kids are getting into. We get into the idea that as incoming freshmen, they get the possibility of starting varsity. Now, that is a big feat to do, and you have to be one heck of an athlete to start varsity as a freshman. And I think a lot of schools, of the 6 schools that I've taught a little bit at some point, they get that mentality of, hey, I'm a high schooler now. I was a star middle school athlete. I got these championship rings from travel ball. I should be able to start varsity my freshman year. And if I don't, well, I'm going to go to my parents and then complain about that, which should not happen. We shouldn't be in that mindset. We shouldn't be in the system that encourages that. As a freshman, you are way underdeveloped athletically and maturity-wise compared to an 18-year-old senior. There's just a big difference. Everyone knows that. And now whether they admit to that or not is one thing. But you do get those outliers of fantastic freshmen who can start varsity, but we really shouldn't push kids to that point. We should have a developmental system to where maybe we have a freshman team or a JV team that can play. They can still get playing time, get developed a little bit further, get those skills hined in a little, and then you can shoot them off to varsity, whereas an upperclassman, they can excel even more. And then that also creates those relationships with those kids in that class. And if all of the freshmen are playing together at this level, they can do well, they can create that choreography, that chemistry. And then as years goes by, that just gets even better. And if you look at some of the big 4A, 5A schools in Iowa, they do that. They have a freshman team, and they also have varsity and JV. And if you look at their varsity, they don't have a lot of freshmen. And so us smaller schools should start seeing into that because it's working out for them, so it should work out for us. Now, although if a school has low numbers in a sport, then I can understand freshmen coming in, playing some varsity, and getting some reps, because that's also good for them. I'm not discouraging it, but I'm trying to give my point of view as a freshman that played a lot of varsity sports. I was not as tuned in or developed as some of the upperclassmen where I might have been a little more athletically gifted, but And that doesn't cover it all the time.
And, too often that promotes added pressure, added stress on that particular athlete. Now, I look back at, like Tyler Hopp's freshman year. Tyler Hopp, he was playing defensive end, as a freshman, and Coach Hoffman would move him around in different aspects. And, I'm not saying he wasn't ready for that level, but if he could have developed, and we didn't have that luxury of having a full JV season that season anyway. But, he's one of those athletes, much like yourself, that was put into that role. Another example, Caleb Moore. Okay, Caleb Moore ended up playing, I believe, blindside tackle. So left tackle for a quarterback that struggled that year. You remember that season. Great kids. I think we underachieved just a little bit that year.
We did.
But Caleb Moore, he's 215 pounds, soaking wet. And I remember a game at I think it was Highland. Okay, and Caleb got rocked. Okay, he got rocked, and he's over in the Highland. They're huddled around there, and then I'm like, "Hey, Caleb, we're over here, right?" Okay. So anyway, it's one of those things. Sometimes out of necessity, you have to bring up an underclassman. But what you would like to see is Well, we all want to see. Like if you look at football, for example, you want to see 15 to 20 people per class.
Absolutely.
Okay, and when that happens, you don't have to go with that luxury or that that necessity of going down lower anyway. But
no, I would agree with the added pressure. I mean, it gets the kids thinking a little more and gets them upset about themselves, saying, "Hey, I'm not living up to that expectation." I mean, if you look at any football documentary, it just shows, hey, I'll tell so much pressure on these teenagers. We got to remember, these high school kids are teenagers and not necessarily professional athletes.
What do you think now? You're going to be coaching multiple sports, okay? Football, basketball, girls basketball. Yep. You're part of baseball, and who knows what else you'll coach, right?
Yep.
What about the overlapping summer or the overlapping seasons? And you see these athletes, and you see. I think something that needs to change in the culture of any organization, not just centrally, but any across the state and across the nation, is all coaches must get together within their administration, come up with a plan, and we have to share athletes, especially at the 2A level.
Yes. Okay,
we have to understand that. But how do we fix the culture in that? Because a lot of times you see, one coach says, okay, fine, weight lift in the off season. The next coach says, no. Okay, I don't want them to be worn out for their games. Okay, stuff like that. How do you get past that?
Essentially, it's heading in the right direction. They're trying to get everyone into the same page, the same workout, and they're not focused on a single sport's movements or lifts or anything like that, which is great. That's what needs to be happening. But yes, you get those coaches here and there that say, hey, I don't want my kids working out because I don't want them to get tired. But if you think about it, if you get a nice workout in the morning, that's what some collegiate football teams do. They have a little warm-up before the game, and then they eat, and then they have the rest of the day to take the time and get prepared mentally for the game. But as high schoolers, I mean, their engines, they're always going. They're going to get tired, but if you want to be extremely successful and get ready for that collegiate level, then you're going to have to push through the tiredness and everything. When I was a senior in high school, that's when Coach Hoffman started doing the lifts in the morning a little more, and then I also had basketball. So I just went from football workouts straight to basketball, which worked perfectly fine. I mean, you still got that adrenaline from lifting, and you weren't too tired. But after basketball, you get that little lapse of tiredness and everything. But you also have 3 hours to get rested up and everything. If you need to sleep. I don't take naps, but just get hydrated, get fueled up, ready to go, and get off your legs. And then you will be prepared for baseball or whatever sport you have later that day. We get that mindset we get two mindsets. The first mindset is our kids aren't doing enough, which, I mean, they're always on the go, which I understand, and I think it's not for everyone, but for those people who want to be next level and be multi-sport athletes, you're at a higher peak and higher reliance than anybody else. I mean, you are the peak athlete if you're multi-sport. So you need to be proving that and acting that. But we also get that other mentality of, hey, these kids are doing a little too much, which might be also true. So you really have to find that perfect balance of doing what needs to be done, but also finding that time to rest, because rest is essential for muscle growth and just tiredness.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to read your post from this morning, and we'll decipher it a little bit, and then we'll get into this official thing, because there's definitely a shortage everywhere. High school athletes, exclamation point, and that's all in all caps. So I think you're yelling there, Tyler. I don't know.
Yeah, I am.
Please let me get on my soapbox. As summer workouts continue at every school, I have noticed that this young generation's work ethic has hit a snag, not just at Central Lee, but everywhere. Athletes, you need to understand that you have 4 years of high school sports. Some of you might get the privilege to play collegiate sports, but you need to realize that it goes by faster than you know. As I have went through both levels, I can tell you that it is no easy road or no easy task. I'm going to put that there too.
Okay.
See, if you want to win or go to the next level, you have to do the things others are not willing to do. In order to be the 5% of nationwide athletes that do college sports, you have to work like that 5%. Athletes all over the country can work 1 to 2 times a week. It's the outliers that work 4 to 5 days at least that succeed. If you want to reach your goal, you can't kind of work for it. You have to push yourself to achieve the fullest potential. That means mental and physical reps every day. Be accountable for fulfilling your dreams. Believe you can. Fight through those uncomfortable times and give it your all. For those of us older people that have went through high school and college sports, and those of us that maybe regret not going as hard, please take advantage of your time you have. So when it is all done, you can say that you did your best and enjoyed each moment. Now, I remember reading that percentage, I think it was last year, but it's a 2016 study that said those that do not miss summer workouts in the summer, that's 4 days a week, the average of those that attend 4 days a week is 5%. Yeah. And those that make collegiate sports, 5%. So that's definitely, an important nature to divulge.
Absolutely.
This is a frustration.
It is.
I mean, how many people did you have the week after or the week out of school?
So I would say our first week we might have had 45 to even 50 kids, and that's not even counting girls. If you have the girls, we had at least 60 kids there, which as a incoming football coach, you're like, oh, heck yeah, we got plenty of kids. This is fantastic. And you always hear those little chirpings of, okay, it's going to dwindle down each week. And I didn't believe that. I had high hopes. I was like, no, these kids are going to push through it. And unfortunately, we have seen that decline of numbers, which I understand vacation is coming up here pretty soon. Parents want to seize this opportunity to go. But you also have to understand that a lot of these student athletes are not on vacation 4 weeks in a row. They are in bed. They're staying up late, not doing things that they should do. And they kind of act like us coaches don't really know that, but we've all been there. We know what they're doing on summer nights, and not coming into lifting in the morning is no excuse for being sleeping or things like that. I mean, we have kids there every day who work, who get plenty of sleep, and who play baseball as well. So, I mean, those excuses, we don't accept them, and we don't accept any excuse. Now, if they're on vacation with parents and they let us know about that, that's perfectly fine. We understand. We want family to be involved as well, because, I mean, that's the biggest, most important thing in life is family. But Coach Swanson and I, we stayed up a little later after the lifting session today, and we talked with some athletes, his basketball team, and a couple of the high school football seniors. And he was saying that you really have to get these kids in here because they aren't getting prepared mentally, which takes away from the other seniors' seasons, these other basketball players, they're taking their season away from them because they're being selfish. They're staying in bed. They're not coming to get better. And as a two-way school, you really shouldn't have to worry about having plenty of kids coming out for workouts or basketball, open gym, anything like that.
You look at Williamsburg. You look at and again, you can't compare. The two dynamics of the population, but Williamsburg they have two sets of 80 students each, so they're getting 160 students in per workout, and that's something that we're striving for. We're trying to change this culture. Now, granted, a big reason of culture, our coaching culture in athletics. Okay, I've got this thing coming out this fall. It's called the Mad Culture. Okay, present in athletics, and I did spend a little bit of time editing, and I want to share this out there because I don't think that the student athletes have necessarily changed. No. I think the culture's changed, because we always hear it. Oh my God, this generation's going to kill us. Oh, this is so bad. Yeah, we hear that all the time. This new student athlete. I just don't know whether I can handle him. Now, although we have to adapt or die. When you look at coaching. But I have this quoted in my book. One thing that will hold true for me until the end of time is this. The student athlete has never changed. The world around him or her changed and did so without us truly understanding the consequences. And when I look at that, buddy, I look at, technology.
Yeah.
Playing Fortnite, guys, okay, sleeping till noon. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. There were days that I slept till noon as a kid. Okay, even me, even the old guy, right? But we have to, we have to change. We just have to change it, and I think that begins with awareness.
It does.
I don't know. It's something. I'm trying to, utilize, a lot of strategies and different things, and the mad culture in athletics. Or present in athletics, the book isn't necessarily going to be finger pointing, this and that and the other. It's going to be a lot of experiences from a lot of us coaches, officials, parents, whatever perspective. And it's going to give us, also some real solutions to change things.
It should, yeah.
So let's trek into officiating.
Okay.
Tell me about a time while you were officiating that you nearly lost it.
You want the funny story or
give me both.
The both?
Give me both.
Okay. Yeah. So, frustrating wise, you and I were officiating at a tournament at Central Lee. It was just 3 schools, round robin, and it was a tournament that you ran as an AD for about 2 years, my junior and senior year. I'm not sure if you did it a year after, but we were officiating it, and one coach did not agree with one of our calls, and he definitely let us know about it. And, of course, we let it slide. I mean, it's just one time. But then he started arguing balls and strikes, which, one, should not happen. And everyone has a strike zone, and you can't complain about it. You got to adapt to it as a coach and as players. But then he started coming at us. He walked up into our faces.
Oh, was it? That wasn't at Central Lee.
That was at Fort Madison.
Yeah, well, it was. I can't say. I won't say the town, but it is fairly close. It is in the Fort Madison Community School District.
Yeah. So I mean, there's just coaches like that come up into an official's face are a big leading reason why we have a shortage of officials right now. Not just in baseball and softball, but in all of these sports. We get these coaches that like to be vocal and maybe a little too vocal towards the officials and not necessarily the situation. And,
frankly, looking back, I should have thrown that guy out, or at least, at the very least, restricted him to the dugout. But me being a coach, me being a parent, me yelling at officials, throughout the years, I think, probably tamed that down just a bit. Yeah. It's looking back at that, man, I just shake my head. I do remember one of my biggest frustrations as an official was when the student athletes, if you happen to be, officiating games where the kids.
Yeah, they do call you by a first name.
First name, that's like, Perry. Poor Perry, even in J High sports, they say, "Come on, Perry."
Yeah, come on, Perry. Go, Perry.
I look at those things. Now, do you believe that if you officiate at least one sport, that you can be a better coach?
Oh, absolutely. Knowing some of the rules about baseball, being an official, I know a little more clearly as a coach what can possibly happen. I know situations that these umpires are in, so I can utilize that to my advantage, which may not be the most politically correct thing, but it does make you aware of more things and how the game is played.
Yeah. Now, do you think that sometimes you can overstep your boundaries as an official, or not as an official, but while you're coaching? Do you think that sometimes you can overstep your boundaries and you make those comments? Because I made a comment this summer, right? And I probably shouldn't have, have made that comment, to be honest with you. But I said, hey, I'm a registered official. I understand the sport. So
I think with the heat of the game and some situations, coaches get a little too into it, which is not a bad thing. I encourage that. And so I would say yelling at an official is not necessarily bad, but it's the material that you're yelling for is what could be bad.
Yeah. We had a couple of moments this past summer where kids and parents, were trying to engage, in against the officials. Okay. Yeah. And, one thing that I have to say about our parents this summer is the culture was pretty decent.
They did.
Okay. Well. There were times where I had to say, hey, man, we got it. Let us coach, or, hey, don't yell at the officials, stuff like that. Yes. But, we had some of that a little bit at the beginning, but I think if you set your framework, you set your foundation, you set your guidelines as a coach, and you communicate that with everybody involved, you're not going to have those issues later on anyway. No. It got quiet.
It did get quiet.
It got quiet. Now, is there anything you want to, throw out there, for these people out there? I do know that Waylon Wyrather and the baseball team often listen. Did they win last night?
I believe they did.
Oh, good.
They had 4-3 in the fourth inning last time I knew. So
okay,
I'm assuming they won.
And I think we went on a drive and it was 7-3. But I think I'm going to go watch them tonight. It's senior night.
I am too. Yep.
Yeah, and they're going to be wearing purple.
I guess for mom.
Yeah, that's. I don't think I own anything purple. You going to buy me something purple?
I might have to.
And it's tough. It's tough when Keokuk's purple.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, this is a bad day.
We should wear bright honey orange or something.
Mom would kill us. She'd come back and kill us. She would not like orange.
Oh man, that's pretty good. But tonight, doubleheader. I think it's a varsity doubleheader for baseball.
Yes.
Is it JV varsity for girls?
JV varsity for softball, but varsity plays first due to the weather.
And I do think that it's going to be on the radio.
I believe so.
And, the voice of Central Lee is Kyle Van Alsdahl. Okay.
Ryan Van Alsdahl.
Yes.
Lane Wyrather.
Yeah, Lane Wyrather. And Lane, I have to throw this out there. You pronunciate Keokuk. It's Keokuk, right?
Yep.
Okay. That's all in good fun. Now let's go back to your playing days. What are the 3 points in your playing days that you remember today as a coach, or later in life?
I remember the heartache losses. So we had a couple of those in football. I had them in basketball. So you learn more from a loss than you do from a win. But those heartache losses are just the worst. They sit in your mind, not just the day after, but years after. I still think about some losses.
Mid Prairie Mid Prairie is one of those. And I remember you were out of character that day after the game. Threw some stuff, and your dad said, "Hey."
He got on me that day. But the most heartache loss was the second district round of my senior year of high school basketball. It was at Notre Dame, and we played all right. We were winning at the half, and then all of a sudden they came back and they ended up winning. And that was my last game of basketball ever. And to me loving basketball forever, That was just painful. I just sat and looked back to all my days of YMCA, middle school, and things like that. But it also sprung out some positives. Looking back at all those moments, I was like, man, I really love this game, and I enjoyed the journey that I was on, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Now, your senior year, were we 6-3?
We were 6-3. So
okay.
We missed the district playoffs because they did the point system.
Yes.
So we missed it by 3. So if we would have kicked an extra point at some point in the season, we would have went to the playoffs.
It was the Mid-Prairie game, and it was a goal line stand, and that was 8 plays in the goal line stand, and we beat them by 2 points.
Yep.
Looking back in that game as a coach, I'm thinking, man, if we would have just went down and scored again. But what was your record in junior high?
In junior high, in football, we might have won 2 games in the 2 years together. Okay. Same with basketball, we might have won 2 games.
And that's exactly what I want to put out there for the kids that have not had success. Okay, and whether it be at Central East, Centerville, Sheraton, Fort Madison, whatever. For those kids that have not had success, you can have it if you work hard on it.
Yep.
And your class, the class after, and a few classes after that, they lived in the weight room.
They did, yeah.
They lived in the weight room, and they were there all summer long. Yep. It was one of those things. Now let's go to your collegiate time.
Okay.
Give me your 3 things that stand out from your time playing football at Central.
I would say the brotherhood in Central College's football. We were probably the tightest group that I could ever be. And we fought through the tough times, the hard times, and in our 4 years, our class, we had a pretty great record. I mean, we finished second all 4 years in the conference, which, I mean, you want to win first, but there's just sometimes some teams are better than you, which they were. Wartburg has a really good team. Cull had a really good team at one point, so I give respect to them. But, man, Central College does it right, which they have the mentality of we are going to be conference champions. I mean, that's our first goal every year is conference champions. So just the brotherhood, the expectation to win. I mean, we're the 7th most winningest college in NCAA sports.
Wow.
With football.
I've had a lot of former athletes, spend time up at Central. So, yeah. and I think Keenan Maddie's boy is still up there, right?
Yep, Hunter Maddie's still there. He's going to be D-end and possibly football punter. So he worked with me this year, and he did great. And we also have Martin Vineyard, who's going to be on.
Nice.
Yep.
It's nice to get Marty.
Into it.
One of the greatest stories of Marty was when he was a freshman. Okay, and he was hurt or something, and Coach Hoffman turns to him and said, "Go get me something out of the."
I bet he did.
Hey, go get it. And so Marty takes off running, and as soon as he hits the water, because water is prevalent down there, he flips up and he goes backwards into the water, and it splashes. He's all muddy and wet. Gets up and continues to run. Right, and Coach Hoffman looks at me in his voice, and he says, I kind of like that guy.
I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Oh, Marty played really well for us last year. A linebacker.
So I was excited to have him tell me that he was going to Central, and he'll do well.
Just remember, Marty, if you run, make sure there's not a mud puddle.
Yep,
okay.
Jump the puddles.
That's fun. Now, you've obviously only coached baseball, but you did come in for a week during your break and helped us in basketball too. So, in your short coaching career, take us back to at least 2 most memorable moments.
So I would say one was from this year's baseball. I mean, we had 2 walk-offs in a row by the same kid, Caden Scow. He did fantastic. The whole team did fantastic at the 7th grade level. And both of those games we were down pretty much the whole game, and all of a sudden we come back in the last inning, we get bases loaded each time, and either gets a walk-off single or a walk-off hit by pitch. And to me, that's awesome because the kids didn't give up. They could have, but they pushed through adversity, and then they ended up getting the reward for that. And the second time, I would just have to say last year coaching baseball. I had specifically 8th graders, whereas this year we did 7th and 8th kind of combined.
Did you think that worked better, as far as culture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the kids would get a little more comfortable with each coach, which is good. But last year, on my 8th grade team, I had a lot of fantastic athletes. I mean, we only lost 2 games. One because my 8th graders left for Washington, D.C. their last game. They ended up losing. So, which is okay. I mean, as a first-year coach, that's your dream, is to get a winning season, and to only lose 2 games was fantastic. And the kids made my first year of coaching fantastic. I mean, those kids were wonderful. They pushed themselves hard, and I'm starting to see it in the weight room too. I mean, those same kids on my team are in the weight room right now, and they are showing tremendous improvement.
Well, we have about 4 minutes left. I want you to share the funniest story that you can think of all time in your, either whether it's playing, coaching, officiating, whatever. The funniest story.
All right, so the funniest would probably be 2 years ago. I was officiating a softball game. It was a makeup game. So
Davis County?
Yeah, Davis County. So I'm at Davis County, and it's a softball doubleheader varsity. And no, JV. It was JV doubleheader against Washington. And first inning in the first game, I'm behind the plate. That's where I want to be. I loved it. And it's a beautiful day out, good for softball, ready to go. And first pitch goes out, wonderful. And so there's 2 outs left. Bases are loaded, and I'm out of foul balls. So I'm like, Coach, I need foul balls. And their girl rolls it to me. I was like, dang it. So I got to bend down, and all of a sudden I hear a big snap. And like me thinking, I was just like, all right, that was just my pads or something. So I put the balls in my pocket. I'm like, all right, 2 outs. And all of a sudden, I hear some giggling behind me, and then I feel a cool breeze running up my rear end. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I rip my pants? And so, like, before the pitch, I reach back there, and I ripped my pants behind first home plate in the first inning of a girls' softball game. So I'm like, crap, I'm 21, and I got my pants ripped. All these moms are taking videos of me. They're laughing. They're seeing an orange compression short crescent moon, and it was not good. And then after that inning, I went the whole game with ripped pants, and so hopefully somebody out there has a picture of that.
I'm going to put hashtag ripped pants on this episode, right?
We should, but the Washington coach came up to me, put his arms around me, and he's like, that's happened to me too. So I was like, all right, cool. But the next game, I ended up putting shorts on, being the base hump, and it was funny, and the girls liked it. And
That's awesome. Now, special shout-outs there, Tyler. This is your time.
I would like to thank all the Central College football staff. I mean, they were wonderful. They love each and every player, no matter who they are, and they stick with them even after they're gone. And so I appreciate that. I also appreciate all Central East staff and coaching staff. They're wonderful. We're on the right path, and I'm excited to join the team. And I would also give a shout-out to Tiana, as it's her senior night for softball. I hope you enjoy it. And then, of course, my dad, my stepdad, my stepmom, and then my mom up in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for everything that they did. And they've made me the man I am.
Excellent. And I appreciate you coming in.
Oh, thank you.
That is Coaching, Culture, and Athletics, Episode 4. Coach Tyler Bryant. He's going to do amazing things. We're going to get him back on, folks. We'll talk at you soon.